Hey there, Danny here. Welcome to my ramblings. Tonight I want to talk to you about manipulation. Do you ever notice how people who are manipulative... Well, here's the funny part. So, we know that most people tend to think that everybody thinks like them, which is, to me, that's absurd. Why would you want to think like everybody else? You're supposed to be unique. Anyways, so... when people are attempting to manipulate me, I can see it a mile away. It's almost like a neon sign is just lighting up at me. I can only see it because I got to see both sides of my mother. When we were with family and friends, she was nice and kind and laughing and having a good time, and you literally, as a child, I literally thought that she loved these people and cared about these people. But then once we get in the car and we'd be driving home, or when we got home, if it was close by or whatever, she would start bitching about all these people that we just left. And I'm thinking, as a child, I'm thinking, don't you like them? I'm not understanding. So, when I got older and I became a teenager, I would ask her, why do we go to these places if all you're going to do is bitch and moan behind their back? If you don't like going there, then why are we going there? Well, I like going there, she would tell me. Then why are you bitching behind their back? Oh, I'm not. I'm just talking to you. And I remember just thinking, what? How does that make sense to anyone? She saw nothing wrong with this. She thought this was normal. It's not. There's nothing normal or okay about this scenario that I just shared with you. Anyways, so growing up watching this my whole entire childhood, and then being able to, as I became an adult, I stopped going with her places because I just didn't want to. I didn't want to deal with it because I knew these things that she said behind their back. And then when we'd be together, she'd be like, oh, and then I'd have to listen to all these people tell me how wonderful and kind my mom is. And all I would think when they'd say that is, you don't know what she says behind your back. You got no clue. And I wasn't about to tell them because, well, one, nobody ever believed me anything when I said anything about my mom because she was such a good person. Anyways, I digress. This isn't about her or me. This is about manipulation. So I don't know how many other people can do this, but I have the ability to see manipulation. It's a big, bright neon sign, and I can see it when it comes. It's just, it's like my radar goes off and I get it right away. Doesn't mean that I call anybody out. Doesn't mean that I'm going to be... it doesn't mean that I'm going to be hanging out with you a lot after this. But the part that I'm trying to get across to you is, do you ever notice when somebody is manipulating you and you call them out on it, they want to get mad and pretend like you're the one that's manipulating them? Do you realize that when they tell you that you're the one manipulating and you know you're not, you just called them on their bullshit? You do know what that is, right? That is them projecting who they are onto you. They are telling you outright that they are manipulating you. And that they are angry because how dare you not allow them to manipulate you? I don't grasp the concept or how their brains work. To me, it's just a weird foreign thing. Anyways, so feel free to reach out and share your stories of crazy manipulations that you've had to deal with, how you've handled them. Depending on the situation and who the people are will depend on how I handle it. Majority of the time, you get put at arm's length. Sorry, I don't want to hang out with you anymore. I don't want to, nope, I know who you are. I know that being around you is going to be nothing but a drain on my energy. I've worked too hard to learn to love myself and find my true authentic self that I just don't have time to deal with that. If anything touches my freedom or my peace, I protect those two things at all costs. That's why it was so hard after my accident, was because I was so used to having my freedom, and I've lost my freedom. It'll be almost 2 years in May. It'll be 2 years that I've pretty much lost my freedom. I haven't been able to travel or live my life the way that I want to, because I got in the hole pretty bad. And I'm still digging. Well, I shouldn't say I'm still digging myself out. I'm caught up on the bills now. But now I'm sticking money into the car that I got so then I can have it running good, because now we need a motor mount. Which I'll get that replaced hopefully this weekend. Anyways, I just wanted to share some of this with you, because if you notice that somebody's manipulating you and you feel the need to confront them on it, even if you don't and you just keep your distance from them, you keep them at arm's length, when they question you about anything, then you tell them the truth. I don't care to be manipulated. Or tell them what they did. You did this, this, and this because you wanted me to do this. You don't have any control over me. And I don't want to hang out with people who think they can control me. And watch how quickly they turn around and tell you how you're manipulating them. They're just narking on themselves, aren't they? I don't know. I don't quite understand the whole how their brains work. Something is not wired properly in their brain, in my opinion. Because why would you really think that you're entitled? But here's the biggest thing. I'm really going to tell you my biggest thing about this, and this is the biggest thing that I keep, and I've said this several times in several videos. There is one thing that you need to keep in mind about the situation. They're mad because they can't manipulate you. They had no desire whatsoever. They weren't around with you because they cared about you. They weren't around with you because they respected you. They were around you so then they could have power and control. But what they're too ignorant to realize is that if you watch my videos, it means that they don't have control of themselves. The only reason that any human being feels the need to control another human being is because they cannot control themselves. They feel like their life and the way that they live is out of control. They can't realize that the reason their life is the way it is based off the choices that they've made. Make different choices if you don't like it. Instead, you gotta drag us down with your misery loves company because you can't control yourself. You think you control another human being. God, that's gotta be a pathetic life. The way that I look at it, I just look at it and think, God, that has to be a pathetic life. That you spend your whole life plotting and scheming on how you're going to get people to give you what you want and do the things that you want or don't want them to do. Can you imagine living like that? And I probably should be telling them, like, confronting them on it when they do their manipulation. But the truth is, why am I gonna waste my energy? They're already trying to manipulate me. They already think that they are smarter than I am. Why should I waste my time arguing with them or even trying to prove my point? They're not going to see it. It's just easier to say, bye, we're not hanging out anymore. I don't want you crazy around. So if you've had issues with manipulation or anything else, feel free to leave them below. Contact information is in the description box. Feel free to reach out if you want to talk about it. Share some of your stories about manipulation, how you handled it. Majority of the time, I generally just, they're arm's length away. They're not people I'm not gonna hang out with anybody that's trying to manipulate me. I don't want to be around them. I want to be around them as least as I have to. If I have the opportunity to completely cut them out, I will. But we don't always have that choice in everything, because it could be coworkers or, you know, your kids or something else. Who knows? But the point that I'm attempting to make is, I don't understand them. They confuse me, because they live in a world that doesn't exist. They can't control themselves. They can't control anybody else. And as they're trying to control everybody else, they're telling me that, and it should be you too, that they're out of control of themselves. Because somebody who's in control of themselves doesn't feel the need to manipulate other human beings, because, one, it's hard enough to control your own self. What the hell you want to be trying to control other people for? And if you watch some of my other videos, your reaction is very important too. The truth is I don't care if you call it karma. I don't care if you call it God dealing with them. The man upstairs dealing with them. I don't care what you want to call it. But it will come back around and bite them in the ass. We reap what we sow. So if you're constantly out there manipulating and being disrespectful to other people, that's what you're going to get back. And you may not see that until you get older in life. I don't know if I ever shared the story of Lana with you. She was a 70-some-year-old woman. I was a security guard back in 2012 after the second husband disappeared. I was a security guard, and I was the officer in charge at this wire factory. And she worked third shift, and I worked first. And so I'd come in just before she'd get off, and you'd have to swap notes and whatever else, you know, typical stuff. Anyways, before anyone knew, up to and including me, that I had officer in charge, I just started. She didn't like me, and I didn't understand why. I'd never done anything to her, said anything to her. And then once it came out that I was officer in charge, and she found out, she changed the way she responded to me and reacted to me real quick. She even went as far as to tell me that she was jealous of me. And I asked her why, and she says, because you look as good as I used to when I was your age. I used to have legs like yours. And I looked at her and I'm like, what? She's like, well, you know, I looked like I looked very nice dressed up. Which I'm assuming you do, she says. She says, but I used to sleep with married men and my bosses, and she told me straight out that she did it because then she could control them and threaten them that she was going to go tell on them if they didn't give her what she wanted. And she went around doing this for a long, long time. Decades. She even ended up having a kid by one of them, but her mother ended up taking the kid. So the kid, her own child, thinks that he thinks his mother is his sister. Up until, and she was, I think she was 72 or 73 at the time. This was probably a decade, more than a decade ago. And, she was lonely. She was old. She was lonely. And she couldn't even get her kid, she couldn't even tell her own kid, the truth. Because she didn't want her kid to know who she was. That he was a product of who she was as the person she was. Which I kind of felt sad, because I thought, God, that's got to be a horrible way to live. But Lana was my lesson. Lana was my lesson in giving me a heads up that no matter what happens, they'll pay for it when they get older. And when that time comes, you'll have nothing to do with it. It's because of what they chose to do. Their choices brought them to that point. And anytime I ever had to deal with somebody that was manipulative or controlling, all I thought to myself was, you're going to end up like Lana. It's kind of an inside thing with me and some friends that you're going to end up just like Lana. I don't know whatever happened to her. I ended up quitting the job a couple years later and going back into paralegal work. So I don't know whatever happened to her, but she was very kind to me after she knew that I was officer in charge, because that meant I was her boss. But she couldn't sleep with me and get her way, because I don't go that way. I know, crazy story. I need a drink. So I just wanted to share the manipulation thing. If they are telling you that you're manipulative and you know that you're not, or you've called them out on their manipulation, know that they're projecting who they are onto you. So they are telling you, without telling you, that that is exactly who they are. And now you know this person needs to be kept at arm's length, if not completely discarded. Bye! Go out with the trash! I don't quite understand their thinking, and I imagine that they've got to live a lonely life. Even if they're getting things that they want, physically, like when Lana was threatening to go tell their spouses or bigger bosses at work or whatever about the affairs, even though they're getting that stuff, they still got to be lonely, don't they? Maybe they're not. Maybe the getting the things and that manipulation gives them some sort of power and control. I don't know how it works, because I don't think like that. But all I know is when I can see manipulation a mile away because of my mother. And Lana was just my blessing from God to let me know that what goes around comes around. What you reap, you will sow. Or what you sow, you will reap. Whatever, we're not going there. I'm losing my train of thought here. Anyways, have a great night, guys. I gotta go to sleep after I order my motor mount, and then I'll know when I get to go fix the car. Anyways, have a great night, guys. I love you. I'll be back in a day or two. Bye.